The eyes of the country are watching the state of Florida yet again as three key races are now in a recount. On Saturday, Florida Secretary of State Ken Detzner issued the order for a recount in the governor's race between Ron DeSantis and Andrew Gillum, the Senate race between Rick Scott and Bill Nelson, and finally the race for Ag Commissioner between Matt Caldwell and Nikki Fried. The recounts began statewide, but Broward County had issues with their counting machines, and the recount, the primary topic on many of the Sunday morning news shows. Take a listen.
Even if it takes you into the middle of next week, you better count every vote.
Somehow they came up with 93,000 votes afterwards. How did they, Chris, how did they do it?
All right, now, if the recount machine finds one or both of the races within 1/4 of a percentage point, a manual recount will then be automatically triggered. But before we get to that, on Friday, ballots from overseas, uniformed service members, and overseas civilians will be counted. Next Sunday, county canvassing boards have they'll have to submit all their official returns. On November 20th, the Elections Canvassing Commission will meet to certify the official returns. That commission includes the governor and 2 members of his cabinet. But check this out. If you're not taking a look at your screens, please do. We're able to take this out of the archive here. This is a voting booth right here from the 2000 presidential elections. One of our photographers was able to get her hands on this, I believe at auction, or they were giving it away. You didn't have to pay for it, Deb, though, right? Nope, she was able to get this, and it's fascinating. If the camera can zoom in, you can see right here, I don't know how clearly you can see it, but I can see it, black and white right there, George Bush, Al Gore. That's the election that started it all 18 years ago. The 2000 presidential election, of course, ended in a Supreme Court vote 5-4 in favor of George Bush. He became our next president. Now, some people didn't fully punch their votes, leaving what became famously known as dimple chads or hanging chads. This machine was part of the controversial Florida recount that was also fought in the courts and held up, declaring George W. Bush the next president of the United States. Pretty fascinating just to see this. Now, because of that debacle, the Help America Vote Act was signed into law in 2002. That forced outdated voting equipment, much like this machine right here, to be replaced. It created a centralized statewide database of registered voters, made improvements to the administration of elections, and handles Title III violations like tampering with provisional ballot voting. Now, we know there is a lot going on with the midterms right now. It can be very confusing, even though the election was last Tuesday. If you have any questions, check out the special section on our website. It's WTSP.com/EyeOnPolitics.